Okay, this is a 2007 Prius, and it's been in an accident, and you see that wheel kind of leaning. It's got some negative camber on it, and you can tell how it's leaning pretty bad. So I've had this situation before when I replaced the strut, and it usually straightens it up part way, but not all the way. And I've found out that this knuckle, or the I guess they call it, the steering knuckle, ends up being tweaked usually. These things here, they'll, get tipped anyway in the impact. So I got this whole knee assembly, this used one from the junkyard. It's got a control arm and a knuckle and a wheel bearing in there, and I'll check that and make sure it's good. And the strut, and it looks like the boot's broken on this, but if the strut feels good, then we'll use it. So anyway, I'm going to get the car picked up off the lift and get the tire off. And then I got those bolts, those strut bolts hiding under there. You see those three? Here's the first one, and there's two more like it back there. And I was thinking about maybe getting this off to get to them easier, but I think it'll be less time to mess around in there getting those than to uninstall this and reinstall it. So I will just do that. Anyway, I'm going to get this tire off, and then we have the place where the tie rod end goes in, and I'm probably going to use this control arm because it's just possible that one might be a little bit tweaked from it. You just don't know for sure, but here's this one, and it's off a car that wasn't wrecked here on this corner. So I'm going to get the tire off and possibly get these control arm bolts out here and here, but on the car, and then I will give you an update. Okay, I've got the wheel off. I'm just going to tell you real quick what I'm going to do in here so that I don't miss some stuff. So here's the sway bar link. I'm going to get that off right here. Sometimes you got to put an Allen wrench in there to hold that, because sometimes that it'll turn the whole thing. Well, it usually will actually. So you get an end wrench on here and then put an Allen wrench in the middle there to hold that, and then take that off. And I'm just going to probably leave that rod connected at the bottom. And we got to get the brake line probably, what do we got down here? They just cut that brake line, so I'm going to take the brake line off at the caliper. I'm probably just going to use this caliper that's on here. Take the brake line off right there, and hurry up and raise it up high and tie it off so it doesn't leak too much. And then get the axle nut off. I should have done that before I took the wheel off, but I'll just take and put a screwdriver right in down here in those vent holes. That'll hold it, or I guess right here, yeah. And then I'll get the axle nut off, and you gotta take that little thing that's punched in right there and pry it out, and then turn that and get it off. And then I'm probably going to get the strut bolts out and get them off separately, because I think it's easier to get the strut out without that connected. And then I'll get the control arm bolts right here and right there, and we'll get them out. Let's see, yeah, that's the right one right there. And get the control arm out, and the tie rod right here. I'll get the cotter pin out, take the nut off, and tap right here on the side on these tapered things like this. The shaft inside here is tapered, and you don't want to hammer on the top of this. It'll ruin the threads. And if you have to hammer on there, you can put the nut on there and have it not quite all the way past there and hit it. But usually you bang right here on the side and it'll pop that out. And it kind of deforms this a little bit, kind of squeezes it out. Anyway, we have our ABS sensor right here. That one they got the whole plug on here and everything for the ABS, so I could use that whole ABS thing. Or I could take it off right here. Let's get that 10mm out and get this out, and that's what I'll probably end up doing. It'd be easier than trying to follow this and access the plug through the splash guard or whatever. So after I do those things, then I will give you an update. So I got to show you one thing on this sway bar link. See, I got the nut off, and now it's sitting on that angle and it's bound up. That's because the sway bar is trying to twist, because the weight of the car is still on that wheel over there, and the weight is off of this wheel, so the sway bar is trying to twist. So it's got that on a bind. So you need to put a jack under this ball joint, usually someplace like this, under the control arm or something, and pick that up until the stress comes off of this, and then just kind of take it out of the hole and then jack the jack back down, and you're done. So that takes care of that. This thing, this tie rod, and I had to really smack that hard. I had to really hit it. That thing was oxidized, and sometimes it takes quite a bit to get those out, but most of the time they're not too bad. This one was harder than usual, but it wasn't too big a deal. Anyway, so that's that. We'll update you at the next step. Okay, a little update here. I've got everything out. I've got all my old stuff way over there so I don't mix it up. And my new stuff is here. I went ahead and took it apart. On the old one, I did go ahead and try to take it out all in one piece, and it just was a big mess. Wasn't working out, so I took the strut off. But I got the control arm and the thing out together. But putting it back in is going to be a little bit cumbersome with the control arm with that thing attached. So I went ahead and took it all apart. I got the strut and the knuckle there, and the control arm right here. This is all the new stuff, or not new, but the used parts that I'm replacing them with. And I've got the axle hanging on this bungee cord, which these are really handy to kind of keep things out of the way. And there's my tie rod end and my sway bar link. My brake line is kind of stuck up there, so it's up high, so it's not leaking much. Just a drop or two, and there's plenty of fluid up there in the reservoir, so that it doesn't get down below the piston, which that would get air in the top of the line, which you really don't want. As it is, we got to bleed the caliper when we're done. And anyway, I'm going to put this control arm in first. This is where the ball joint was, where the knuckle bolts on, and this goes in like this. So it'll sit in there like that. We'll put this end right in that little slot right there. And there's a nut that's welded on there. It makes it nice. Just put the bolt up through there as soon as you get it lined up, and it threads in. And this piece here goes right in that hole right there. And again, the threads are on there. I guess there's just not enough light there to see that. Let me try it. Let's see this here. Let's see. There, now you can see it. That hole right there is threaded. We'll just get the bolt in there, and then so that's going on first, and then we'll probably put the knuckle on, and the axle will go through the knuckle, get the nut back on, and torque it to the spec. And I will try to include the torque spec in the video. And I've watched other videos where they say make sure and look up the spec and torque back to the spec, and what I'm looking for is the torque spec. So I'm going to try to tell you that in the video. And so here we are. I didn't show getting those nuts out or anything, but I really haven't showed anything. I'm just telling you what I did. But there's the opening up there, and I'll put the nuts on underneath that thing right there. Anyway, next update on the next step. So this is the final update. I got the strut up in there in the holes, and the nuts are on there, but they're not tight yet. I gotta tighten those up. And got my strut bolts back in. Gotta tighten those nuts. And I'm gonna put my brake line back on. I got the bolt in the hole so I wouldn't lose it. It's right there. Yeah, right there. Anyway, okay, maybe you can kind of see it there on the strut thing. I'm gonna put the brake line back on there. Got my old brake line back on the new caliper. Had to bleed it. You can see I got brake fluid all over. And I'm going to jack this up again like I showed you earlier, and put that sway bar link back up in there, right there. And I'm going to align it and drive it out of here. And you typically wouldn't have to align it because you don't turn the tie rod and you just put it back on. But since this car was bumped, I'm going to just check the alignment. It might be alright. We'll fix it if it's not. And then we're done. So that's how you do a strut and a control arm and a knuckle. Thank you. Sorry, I said I was going to tell you the torque spec on that. The axle nut is 159 foot-pounds. So 159 foot-pounds. Thank you.